All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming and checking out the Ashcan podcast, where we talk about comic books, geek-related culture, movies. I'm Jason,
Hey guys, I'm Phil.
Hey, I'm Thomas.
and our new guy, Thomas. So this is his first episode with us, and we'll talk about how he got corralled into doing this with Phil and I. So I guess what we need to kind of discuss, because it's affected a lot of things and a lot of various avenues by this point, and also to let you know, there was an episode that was recorded by Phil and I that was video, and it was really good. And I can't get it up on YouTube. I can't. It won't let me do anything with it. So we apologize about not releasing anything between now and then, but there's a lot of things that have popped up. I guess each individually, all three of us have had things that have popped up because of this. So I figured we would do a show today, and I'll try to get it up this Friday, and then and try to get on some kind of regular routine with recording and getting it out there. So that way, it gives us something to do and take our minds off of what's going on, and as well give you, whoever is affected by this, whether you're working and need a distraction or you're stuck at home because you can't go anywhere, something to do. We do plan on getting video worked out, but right now we got to kind of roll with this for now. And as I said, we had a new guy, Thomas.
Hey. Oh man.
Yeah.
Just going through this right here.
Yeah, right. So I guess let's. I guess
start into the show.
Yeah, we're gonna start into it. So so really, I'm still working. I still haven't lost any hours. But it's a lot of concern because we're going out in the public, and I have to come home. I've had my daughter, who lives with us as well, has a 3-year-old little girl who we've had for about 3 weeks now, because my daughter and her ex-husband are divorced. So we were supposed to get her every other week, and his mom got sick with something. And they didn't want Kara getting it because they didn't say exactly what it was. They just said that she had gotten sick, and then could we hold on to her for another couple weeks? So that's kind of how it stands now. My wife is laid off from her job, and she's starting to kind of go stir crazy. Sitting around the house and watching TV. It's just kind of, she would rather be working.
Yeah, especially during these times, there's like not much to do except for
right.
like stay home and do what you have to do.
Yeah, and also too, a lot of people may not have jobs to go back to.
I was actually reading about that, like some of the stuff that they were saying that, like, I know for Walmart's policy, especially, like right now they have you get about like 2 weeks
Shut up!
of non-paid.
Shut up! I'm sorry. I was trying to do this without disrupting anything. My dog's barking.
Oh, you're good. But there is what is it, like Walmart's policy, like you can go on LOA, which like goes for like you go off 2 weeks, but that depends on your situation and everything. But if you are like infected or mandated by a doctor that you can't go into work and you are required to be quarantined, it's paid. But if it's self-volunteered, it's not. But they're talking about like after 3 weeks, on the 3rd week, they can't really guarantee if you're going to have a job to go back to, like if you extend it past 3 weeks or 4.
Yeah.
Which is kind of messed up in a way, because people are going to be losing out on their jobs. People are getting let go right now. And I mean, like, and there's really no guarantee that someone's going to come back to their job after this.
Right. So, Phil, how's this impacted you? Like, what kind of changes has it brought to you?
So we, up here in Wisconsin, I work for an archery manufacturer, and it, it was weird. At first, we got the call from the governor saying that we had to shut down all non-essential um, uh, workers, and well, they couldn't tell us if we were essential as a manufacturer or non-essential. So they gave us a day off to figure out what it was and then we were deemed essential. So we worked a day, and then later on that day they told us to shut down. So everything was just kind of up in the air and didn't know anything. And then after the weekend, they let us know that we're off until the 24th with pay. Fortunately, really happy about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, really don't know what's going to be happening in the future if how things are going to be looking after the 24th. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I am going to be watching this somewhat close because I'm actually a little worried now because I've been reading up that this thing really targets like autoimmune deficiency diseases. I was diagnosed last year with adult onset Still's disease, which is kind of an autoimmune that kind of affects like the joints, muscles, and organs. So yeah, I'm actually a little worried. But things have been pretty good. I, it's funny that that Trump has been toting this miracle drug that he knows about,
Yeah,
hydrochloroquine.
the anti-malarial medicine.
Yeah, that was what my prescription was
Oh
for the
wow.
last 3 months, and I just took myself off of it because I've been feeling good. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't even know that.
yeah. So
Wow.
hopefully things are going to be okay, and I I'm hopeful for the future. So we'll see how it
Yeah.
goes.
Well, so just to give a reminder to everybody. So Philip lives up in Wisconsin, and they shut down before us, and Thomas and I live in Florida, within the same county, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much in the same
So we within the last, what would you say, Thomas, like last couple weeks, they had a stay-at-home order enacted.
honestly, since last so this like last week they had released a stay-at-home order, but it wasn't till the very end of last week that they just finally issued it and were like, you guys need to stay home, you guys need to do this, like so on and so forth. But the problem is that like I don't see anyone, and I mean literally nobody, abiding by it. I mean, I can understand
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
fact that people are out there, they're like they need to go do certain things and grab certain items from the store, but it doesn't mean for you to go out, not only go out with, like, it's okay to go out by yourself, but these people are taking their families in the store,
Mhm.
and
Mm-hmm.
like all of them.
Yeah.
And that's really what concerns me the most, because they're really not thinking about other people. They're not practicing social distancing at all over here, and it's
No.
not something that we can control really. And on certain ends of this like spectrum, the workers are kind of getting chastised about trying to reinforce social distancing with these people, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't do it whenever someone doesn't want to do it.
Well, see, and that's just it too. Like, I mean, and when before Thomas, before you went on your LOA, it working, it's impossible to respect the 6 foot rule, because
Oh
you're
man.
either, I mean, so whereas Thomas works up in the front end of his store, I was working in automotive, and they shut down the automotive at all the stores in order to allocate more help for the store, because the truck, the what we're being sent per truck has been increased. And so we're stuck in the, so one of the things we do is we go to the back and help unload a truck. And in doing so, that's impossible because you're running into people, you guys are grabbing stuff, and you're maybe a foot apart. And it makes it kind of hard. Now, if somebody was, coughing all over the place, that's one thing where, it would be, where you'd be a lot more concerned, but like nobody's doing that. So we're all kind of functioning as like, well, this is just a normal day.
Yeah, I see that like there's not really too many precautions other than the fact that they're giving out gloves and masks, but the
But
fact
you realize,
that like
so like,
back there in the back,
yeah,
it's so cramped.
yeah.
Like
And the
there's
thing is,
no way.
those gloves are not even a Band-Aid because like, as I saw something that somebody had posted, do you know, every time you touch something with that glove, you would almost have to change out that pair of gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Every time. So let's say you pick up a box, and then you can't like pick up the box and you scratch your face and then get a drink of water. You would almost have to each time you want to do an individual act, you would have to change out your gloves.
And that's really the worst part about it because like what they're usually giving out, it's like I know at my workplace at the front end, it's vinyl gloves or you can bring your own gloves in.
Right.
But I mean, I chose to normally bring in my own gloves, but the fact is that like we have so much going on at the front end. Like I mean, they just issued out orders to queue lines now,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
And the thing is that some of these stores are giving us kind of outrageous numbers in which we need to start queuing lines at whenever there's going to be nobody in that store other than like the few people that come in. But the problem is that sometimes, especially now, I've been seeing like over at Publix even like people are so like the store is so busy because people keep coming in. And whenever you go in, literally everyone's like running into each other. There's no
Yeah.
like nobody's wearing
Right.
masks or gloves.
Right.
And it's kind of like it doesn't feel like a safe place. Nobody's like queuing
No.
line.
Well, it's
And
not so much that. It's so where we work, it's, how did it go? Like 5 people
per
for
square
every
foot.
per 1,000 square foot.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds worse than what it is. So for like where I'm in a bigger store, way more people could be in that building. Whereas Thomas's store is maybe half that size.
Oh, like a fraction of that size
Like
even.
not even half. So they can't have that many. So they can't have as many as we can. But even then, like their daily totals, like what's coming in the door, it can't permit somebody, for the people who are in charge of who's coming and going, to shut down who's coming in until people leave. Like we haven't hit those numbers yet.
Oh yeah, no, but the problem is that even though the store is like small, like half the size of yours, like they gave us a number of 366 people that are allowed to be in that store, which is completely outrageous because I feel like they need to limit it down to more like 40 people in the store at a time because that way people can get their items without having to run into each other and get out.
Right.
I mean,
Um,
but we've caught few people going into the store and like browsing around for like 3, 4 hours and then
yeah.
leaving.
Right. Um, so, and I know like and it's still, they're probably still doing it. It's not as big a deal now, but they had posted, on the Georgia side, had posted state troopers on the border, from 95 and I-10.
Oh shit, did they?
Yeah, they actually did it, where if somebody was coming in from like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, that they would be turned around.
Oh, wait, I heard about this actually.
Yeah, they
So
actually did it.
I have a CSM that like lives in St. Mary's,
Right.
and she was trying to get on her way to work, and she was about 2 hours like late. We're talking
Yeah.
about late.
Yeah.
And she's trying to get over here, and the line was so long. They were actually taking people's temperatures
Yeah.
at the checkpoints, like to make sure, oh, hey, you're good, like, and then letting him in afterwards. Or
Yep.
like if you were from New York or out of state or anything like that, they would full on ask you, hey, what's your reason from coming in? Do you have any documentation? Or so on and so forth. Like it
Right.
was insane. And
Right.
now the stores are having to give out paperwork, and you're supposed
Yep.
to have your badge on you just
Yeah.
to get to work or even come
Yeah.
home.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the type of craziness that we're dealing with down here.
Now,
So,
do you think that's because of the kind of the population of Florida, where a lot of them are like, like it may be a stereotype on my part, but a lot of them would be older, elderly, and retirement.
it's
So would that
it's
be considered like Florida? Would almost
okay.
be like they would want to like go to
Uh,
extreme measures.
okay, so Florida for a while, um, they weren't. I felt like they weren't. They were concerned, but they weren't massively concerned. The problem is the people that, like for us, I mean, and Thomas can agree, our issue was because the massive amounts of people getting it in even New York City
Hmm.
and New Jersey, they're coming down here to get out of it. And so you have these undocumented cases that theorize that are actually moving south and bringing it with them.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, so we're trying to slow the spread, but yet we're not shutting down borders, and people think that it's okay to leave where it's massively affecting them, when as the case that they could possibly bring it with them or be sick as they're doing this, because there's that theory that it goes after immune compromised people, like Phil, you, and Tom's sister.
And the
It could
worst
be the elderly. They could be blood type. It could be some kind of gene specific
to
issue that they
brush
don't know. It's too now we're starting now. But every day it feels like there's this new load of information coming down the pike, but they don't know still.
See, now I was reading about that to brush up on the blood type part. They're talking about
And
like
that's a new thing to
people
come out.
people with A positive or A negative blood are more likely to be affected by it. And guess who's A negative? I am. And
Oh wow.
Is that a rare
so
one?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
sort of in a way, but the thing is that people who just have like blood type A apparently are more affected by this in some way from what I was reading. But I don't quote me on this. It's like it might not have been a credible source or not like that, but I don't know. But I've seen a few like things pop up and say, "Oh, A negative people are more likely to get it," but don't believe me on that one.
Yeah.
Um it's just a matter of like I've heard so many things on this. I mean, I've heard about like people right now, especially in certain areas, like they have a tourist. I know there was a story that I seen. They had a tourist spitting on money and handing it over
Ah,
to other people.
What?
ah.
Not even kidding you. They were spitting on money and handing it.
Do you remember what
And
state this was at, or was it out of
no,
or
it was
outside?
outside of the country. It was like I think it's a U.S. tourist that spat on money and was giving it to like I think a desk clerk or something like that, or just leaving it on the desk for someone to come and retrieve the money after. So there's people who are like out there actually intentionally trying to spread this.
Ugh.
And in some ways that's an act of bioterrorism right there.
Yeah, it's breaking laws. Um, so I guess, I mean, the only thing that they could say is, be healthy, take probiotics, to get your gut health in check. just try to be healthy. Exercise if you can. If you're able
even
to
stay in the sunlight, especially.
stay in the sunlight, because the one thing that they can say with certainty is that it's a virus that can't take anything. If it's dealing with like high temperatures, it can't survive. So they're saying, the heat could bring up your core temperature, and go outside and sweat or exercise and get a sweat going, to rate. So it's your body heat is elevated.
They even said that like if to drink water often to ensure that like
hydrate
when you're drinking, make sure that you're not like dehydrated by any means, but like if you're working in the industry of like essential work at a grocery store, in between customers, every other customer, you need to be drinking some water or doing something like that, because they said something along the lines of like if you drink the water, it can wash the bacteria down into the stomach, and your stomach acid will deal with the bacteria.
Right. Go ahead.
Which was pretty interesting enough from what I was reading.
So of course, because of all this, a lot of schools are closed. A lot of kids are out of school. It's uncertain at this point at this time of recording if school will be at all this year. A lot of them have shut down school for the rest of the year. They're doing homeschooling online now. A lot of places, even colleges, because I think, Thomas, you do online now, right?
Oh yeah, everything migrated to online. They shut down the school for for spring break. Whenever they shut down, they extended it for another week so that like all the workers can come in and migrate and help all the other teachers migrate all their stuff over to online, because they said that even our summer classes right now, the way that they're looking, they're going to be online.
Yeah. And I know, like with Thomas and I, it's being rumored that it won't be until June before things get back to normal. And that's a rumor. They haven't officially said anything yet, but they're saying June now. So
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and that's a stat, like, so I mean, for those of us who are able to work, I'm thankful to have a job to be able to continue working. Because I know a lot of people can't, because like Thomas's case or Phil's case, or hopefully, the people who are affected by this that don't have a job have something to go back to when everything gets back to normal. So I guess, Thomas, you want to say something?
Oh, I was about to say, I was like, so I'm actually really happy about the fact that certain companies and businesses have actually gone in and basically told people like, hey, if you're out of a job or anything like that, we will hire you as a temporary position so you can have some money and for you to have like something to go to be able to help pay your bills in this meantime. I mean, Aldi, Walmart, Target, a bunch of other places are doing this right now, and mostly it's stocking positions.
Yeah, I mean, also too, sorry to interrupt. It's also to help the economy, because the amount of people that are on unemployment is massive. It's a lot of people, and nobody is seeing figures like this in a lot of years. So also too, because I know when Philip on the outside of what went down with his job, I think, Philip, you and I you had said that you thought that the governor was trying to keep the infrastructure going, so the manufacturing and revenue will still continue to generate.
Yeah, I think so. They wanted to keep as much manufacturing as essential as possible, and you had to fall in a certain category of how many workers were in that. We're relatively a smaller one,
right?
So I don't think we generated as much as some of the others. So I think we were kind of given that
the nod to kind of go the step that's just shut
Right.
down for now.
But it really wasn't the president's decision, our company president's decision. It was
federal or
it
state
pretty
level.
much was, yeah, them to like, this is too much paperwork to deal with. Let's just shut it down. Keep everybody safe. So feel pretty fortunate that way.
Yeah, so we've had some stimulus packages. One is coming to fruition, where there's going to be the government's going to let small businesses have access to loans and grants to help them get through this, so they can still stay in business. And then the stimulus checks that should be trickling out now. I know we haven't gotten it yet, my wife and I, to help kind of stimulate the economy. There's supposedly another one in the works where the Democrats are trying to push for frontline essential workers to have like hazard pay. This is a relatively new breaking story too. Kind of some kind of like where they're able to pay frontline workers a little bit more for them to make that kind of sacrifice.
Yeah, because they're putting their
There's
health
a
at
lot of extra
risk.
workload.
Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I kind of feel there's a lot of extra to pick up a lot of slack and for a lot of essential workers to kind of continue. Like I've been hearing people getting really burned out. So
you know what? Because out of the three of us, I'm the only one still working. It's been mumbled amongst my fellow coworkers that we wouldn't mind a week off. I don't want to see it. I really don't want to see it. But like even working our hours, like it's brutal. It's hard. Like we're given overtime because there's certain people. There are people who are getting LOAs now. So because because they're like two of my guys have won on LOA, and they're older. So it's really hard. It like you go to work. I mean, and I don't want to whine and cry about anything. Like I said, I'm really thankful to have a job, but the stress of you go to work and then you come home and you don't know if you've come in contact with it.
Because you are literally a potential risk case.
Yeah,
at that
you're
point.
just at risk. No, because you're at risk every time you go. Every time I step foot out of this house.
And it's not to mention, I mean, like, okay, so not only are we like thankful to have our jobs and stuff like that, but the thing is that I work in customer service, and I have some of the meanest people come through.
Oh yeah.
Especially as of late, because everyone's stressed out. They're tired of not, like not being able to do anything. They're wanting to go out, go work, everything
Right.
to resume back to normal. And,
Right.
some people are becoming a little stir crazy at this point. But
Right.
I understand, but during this time is that be kind to your essential workers.
Yeah.
They're just as tired and as burnt out as you are.
Yeah. I haven't had that yet. When we get people that are upset that auto care centers shut down. But just about 95% of the people that I've come in contact with on the floor have thanked us for being there. I haven't had any massively rude people that I've had to deal with. So I've been fortunate in that regard. But I know I've had to play cashier at times during this, and even then, I haven't had anybody get really out of hand with me, which is nice.
Wonderful, really.
Which is wonderful, yeah. But it just makes it hard. And then, like I said earlier, my granddaughters are with us, so my anxiety issues aren't being helped at all. So I mean, my heart goes out to everybody, whether you're working, not working. We'll get through this. This is going to be a little while yet. So I guess what I'm going to start doing is we're going to transition out of while it's affecting us. We've had stores closed down. Some of them are doing, you're like, there's one by me, Amelia Comic Books and Cards,
Yeah.
Thomas. They're doing
Yeah.
they're doing curbside service. You can call them. They'll come out, you pay them, they'll give you comic books or gaming cards or whatever. Which I'm glad to see that they're still kind of able to kind of continue going on.
Oh yeah.
So that's nice. Go ahead.
To add on to this, by the way, like, okay, on light of note of curbside service, have you guys heard about the hysterical meme that is going around on the internet right now called Boober Eats?
No, Phil.
So just another division of Uber or something, food delivery.
Boober Eats. Okay, so
Yeah.
Yes, this is a very, very much thing. So apparently, as I'm looking up online 6 days ago, Boober Eats is no more, but it was basically a strip club had created a service for these women, the strippers, to go out to still get paid because they're delivering food to people.
But topless or something like that?
Not topless, because you can't do that in public.
Right.
That's public indecency. You can't do that.
Right.
But, it's kind of like more like Hooters, but delivery service. You get a very nice pretty girl and they come over to your house and they deliver your food for you and you tip them and then they go about their way. It's nothing more than just that. And I mean, I think it's really funny, but
it's funny, but I'll tell you what, I'm glad I don't know nothing about that. Phil?
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't want any of the Wisconsin women, coming to my house and delivering that. There isn't.
You sure about that?
Luck, my luck, it's going to be, like a 35-pound overweight,
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow.
There's a demographic for everyone. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy, jeez. All right. So, and I believe, Phil, when before Wisconsin had ordered the mandatory shutdown, you were able to go to a comic book store.
So yeah, when the day that it was announced by Governor Evers, I made a quick run to La Crosse to my comic book store, and I grabbed, whatever stuff I was missing, and I grabbed 2 cases of boards and bags and 2 more long boxes to go through my whole collection, because I know I'm going to have time to do that.
Right.
So, and that was the last I was able to go to any store. Any comic stores or specialty shoppers or anything really. So,
I mean, speaking of specialty shoppers, I wasn't able to go. What is it? I was supposed to make a trip here recently to go to Savannah, Georgia. It was planned to go to Savannah, Georgia, to go to this place called the Guild Shop, and that place, like, you get all your D&D needs. I mean, I think that they do sell like some of your Magic the Gathering stuff, if people are into that. But, like, instead of being able to do that, people are setting up conquests now on, what is it, Nat20? I think that's the website. They're creating their own campaigns on there. And basically everyone is hopping into a virtual chat room and they're all playing D&D right now. So you can never hold a good D&D player down, because we always find a way.
Wow.
So for the people who are tech savvy and can manage their way, that's awesome. For those that can find ways to keep themselves busy and have the time for that, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Those are good stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of cool that they're able to get, that they're able to do that. From the onset, when the COVID-19 started picking up, Eric Stephenson had issued a statement.
Eric
Oh, what is it?
Stephenson, the
Image
publisher,
publisher. Yeah,
the publisher at Image. Okay.
right. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Actually, very curious about this statement. What?
Yeah, because I didn't read it. I saw it and I meant to read it, but then I never had a chance to read it up until now. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, "Dear colleagues, this is Eric Stephenson addressing the industry. When we're younger, you don't think about being old enough to tell I remember when stories, but for most of us, that day inevitably arrives. Today, I'm remembering when there were no comic book stores. Finding comics back then could be a real challenge. Finding them today, though, without efforts of the direct market to evangelize on behalf of our industry to readers everywhere, would be next to impossible." That's true. Finding them tomorrow could be impossible. Full stop. If our entire industry doesn't come together now on behalf of comic book stores everywhere. We are all living in a moment of monumentous change as we struggle to deal with the effects of COVID-19. We can't simply pretend it's business as usual. Few of us have escaped the damage that the rapid spread of the virus has had on our businesses, our relationships, our everyday lives. We are all frightened by the long-term implications of such a major health crisis. But more than that, we're all grappling with the fear that always comes when the immediate future is not only bleak, but uncertain. What frustrates me the most right now is I know how horrifying that uncertainty must be for our retail partners. When customers were electing to stay out of shops as a public safety measure, that was bad enough. But now that all non-essential businesses are being ordered to close, the fallout from such closures will certainly cause an economic ripple effect with unknown outcome. We have already outlined some of what we're doing at Image. We are now making all new product on FOC for the next 60 days returnable through 518 FOC. We are prepared to extend that as necessary dictates. We are canceling non-essential releases like second printings or reprintings. We're offering suggestions to Diamond for ways to mitigate the impact of this crisis on retailers threatened by mandatory store closures. As of yesterday, we are looking at ways to reschedule and stagger the release of our comics, trade paperbacks, and graphic novels so that we are not pumping product into the marketplace at a time when retailers and consumers alike are dealing with financial struggle for an indeterminate amount of time. We do this because we love comics. We love this industry. We recognize our place in the ecosystem we all rely on to survive. What we do, however, is not enough. Image may be the third largest comics publisher in the United States, but percentage-wise, that's a long way from number two. Despite reacting to the crisis facing our retail partners quickly and with the best of intentions, we are one publisher, and while many stores do rely on our books for their businesses, we are but a piece of an overall sales pie. For true relief, and if the direct market is going to make it through this ordeal, we all need to join together to minimize the effects of shop closures on the stores we need for this marketplace to survive. Some publishers have already discussed the possibility of making their product returnable, but that's still not enough. We need everyone. With all due respect to our publishing peers, we urge you to enact similar measures that will help our retail partners get through these harrowing times. Everybody at every level of our industry needs to do everything we can to support one another. Let's put our heads together and find ways to protect the people who make what we do possible. I understand that not every publisher is in the position Image is in when it comes to making these decisions, Image is not owned by a large corporation or beholden to stockholders. Regardless, this is a time when we all have to do our part. I know that for some of you, that means jumping through a lot of hoops. But if there was ever a time to do it, the time is now. Sincerely, Eric Stephenson, publisher, Image Comics Incorporated.
Wow. Yeah,
It's kind of
that's
insane.
yeah. That's good that he's willing to take back stock from the comic stores, save them the money because they're going to be hit the hardest, more than I think the companies. And I mean that's their outsource right there mostly. So you got to protect them.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, it's a lot like hopefully by doing this during this time especially, that we might be able to see a resurge of new ideas and new things that come out of this by the end of it. And hopefully like comic book industries and like your local shops like make a strong comeback during this time, because they're suffering the worst right now. They've
Yeah.
already put out a bunch of stock. They've already ordered in and put a bunch of money into certain things, and now they're kind of SOL. They're out of luck right now. And the worst part is that I know that like the movie industry right now currently is suffering the biggest hit.
Right. Well, we're going to get ready to get to that. So, I mean, I'm glad that Image is kind of stepping up to the plate. But as he said, he's only like the third largest, and there's a lot of room between second and third, plays.
Well,
And
I would
with
say
that
like
being said, I'm glad, because Image, I mean, even, say what you want, they still do like really good stuff.
oh yeah.
They still do, and I'm glad that they're willing to take that risk as a company. Now, Marvel, if I remember correctly, they have decided not to release new releases to digital formats, and I think they have slowed down what they're releasing as well, physically.
I think DC is kind of doing the same thing, right?
If I remember correctly, yeah, but also too, so like a step further, Jim Lee and somebody else is doing an auction to help, like with those, I guess, the people in their industry get through this time.
I know Liefeld's been selling a lot of artwork.
Yeah, Liefeld and Lee are two that have been selling a lot of artwork. Which is cool. I mean, I'm glad that they're doing it. I mean, but as he said, like there was a time when there were no comic book stores. I don't know when graham crackers went into business, but I can remember going to the grocery store and there's a spinner rack.
Yeah.
Drugstore spinner rack. Like I remember that. I happened to luck out. We had a Graham Cracker Comics in Naperville where I grew up, so I had a comic book store. But there weren't like a lot of places where Phil lives. We had to drive when we were granted we were respectively teenagers. We had to drive to Toma, Wisconsin, to get our comics, or La Crosse.
Yeah,
That's actually a long ways.
Yeah. So when my family moved to Wisconsin, yeah, there was in our town, there were no comic book stores for a long time, and then the folks that owned the Cubbyhole opened up a second. They were able to open up a second location in Sparta and run it, and then that was for a while, wasn't it? Like a few years, Phil? Do you remember? I mean, I know you remember.
I want to say they ran from 93 to 97, maybe.
Yeah. And Pat, the owner, one of the owners, she had to close it down, or she had sold it and closed down the cubbyhole because she had rheumatoid arthritis real bad and couldn't do it anymore. She's having a hard time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe she sold it, and she sold it to somebody initially who Phil and I both know. We went to school with him, and he, I don't know how to word this. He didn't do right by the agreement.
Oh.
Phil, did you ever hear that story?
Nope, never did.
Yeah, so this kid that Phil and I both know, whose name escapes me now, he had
We'll
bought
call
the
him
business.
X.
We'll call. There's some other words I like to call him. So he was supposed to buy the business, and one of the things is that there was this promotion through Vampire the Masquerade. Card collecting game, and he, instead of honoring what she had told him to do, didn't honor it. And I was supposed to have gotten whatever the release thing for it was, and I didn't. It wasn't there. That was one thing. So he apparently, if I remember correctly, he didn't have the money to buy the business. Something like that. And and then legal proceedings followed. And I remember being told this, but this has been a lot of years later. What I do know was that she went to who is now, he's my uncle, and he had bought it and turned it into like a card shop.
That's pretty nice.
Do you remember that, Phil? Do you remember that? It wasn't called, I don't remember what he called it, but he had it for a while, and he closed the doors because then he became married to my aunt. So,
wow.
Yeah, he was a deputy sheriff in the county Phil and I lived in. So that's how he came into possession of it. But yeah, the kid literally like almost ripped her off.
Oh, that fucking sucks.
So Sparta hasn't had a comic book store since.
Right? We have gotten a specialty shop, more so a gaming store.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, like I find because the one that I mentioned earlier, Amelia, Thomas, what is it called? Amelia Comic Books and Games?
Yeah.
They're more gaming than they are comic books.
I've actually kind of noticed that a little bit, not gonna lie.
And nothing against them. It just makes me really mad. I don't want to go on that tangent, but it upsets me a little bit because I would like to go into a place where they have, there's people who are into comic books and stuff like that, and you can have that conversation with them.
Yeah, that's understandable. I'll have to introduce you to sometime. There's a place in Savannah, like just right where the waterfront is. They have a few retro stores there that are just absolutely amazing. Some of them have like really nice comic books. Even in the doorway, they even have the what do you call it? It's like the Game Master glove.
Oh wow.
They even have it for sale up in the very front of the store.
Oh wow.
And they have so many items in there that just like it's instant nostalgia as soon as you enter that store.
Right. Have you been to Gotham Comics yet?
Gotham Comics? No, I
in
actually
Jacksonville.
haven't.
A buddy of mine has. I want to go there because he enjoyed it. Because the only other place that I knew that I was aware of was Borderlands. I don't even know if they're still open. And they're pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed walking in there. It's a clean store and stuff. But I wanted to go to Gotham Comics, but with this, it's forget it. Hopefully they'll be able to be open soon. But yeah, it's, so now it's kind of like, if you want to read, it's either digital or you order it through, online retailers, Amazon, Discount Comic Book Services is another one. I mean, there's a lot of them, where they can give you deals on everything. Really good deals, as a matter of fact. But it's one of those things where I don't want to see the industry go away. I don't want to see the artists or writers have to stop doing what they're doing. I mean, because if nobody's ordering comic books, how are they going to put something up on Diamond to sell? And I'm not necessarily talking about like guys who work on Batman or Superman or
Any
X-Men.
alert.
Yeah, like the independent guys too.
Like I've seen some freelance artists put up emergency commissions because like they're in need of like commissions at the current time, but people are like, it's a very low like chance that they're going to get these commissions due to the fact that like nobody really having much money on them at this time being.
Right.
Mhm.
So a company that is one of the, like, I guess what you would consider them independent, TKO Comics. Damn it. They have issued a statement that if you buy a book from them, 50% of those proceeds are going to go to your local store. If I remember, if I read that correctly. So that's really cool too. It helps out, these mom and pop shops as well. So there's places that are trying, and they realize that. But if this lasts out too long, it's hard to say what kind of impacts they're going to have on the industry as far as releases. Because if they know nobody can go to a store to get it, and there's really no newspaper market to speak of, it's going to be really, really hard.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that the companies, and I think they were kind of like some news outlets were kind of teasing this, where, and I think it was more so like would Marvel buy DC, but
oh shit! Don't get me started on that. That was funny as fuck.
Yeah, but could you see like the comic companies kind of like working together and doing an event of some sort to kind of generate interest back into going to the stores and something like that? Or would something like that kind of blow up in everybody's faces? I don't know.
Thomas, go ahead and go first.
Nah, I don't want to touch that one. you go for it.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. So what we're going to refer to as a lost episode, I kind of gave my feelings about how I feel about this, but that was before this extension, this possible extension or everything. I'm not. You know what? If it could be done something like when Image and Valiant did that, the Deathmate.
Oh yeah.
If they did something like that, what's that?
I love that series.
Yeah, I could see that, but the last time they did something like that, it was like they married the characters together or something like that. I don't know how you would do that. I don't know who you would put on board because fundamentally, like, both companies are going to butt heads on a philosophical level, because they're going to want their guys to be like the number one thing on, like, they're going to want to be like, the big push.
Yeah.
Also too, when you look at Marvel, you don't see a lot of interplay between like X-Men and the Avengers. It's rare.
Oh
yeah.
It has
been done.
No, yeah, okay, yes, it has been done, but you don't see a lot of interplay within Marvel specifically. You have the X universe, You have Spider-Man in his area. You have the Avengers in their area, and then then you have the street stuff. That's it. Like there's very, very like interplay in between those, and when it happens, it's usually like a big freaking like event.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to, because in order for them to make money on it, they got to get the people who are read Avengers to read X-Men, and vice versa. Like, because I mean, I hate to say it, but you also have those camps too. Like, I mean, yeah, you could be like a Marvel or a DC guy, but even then, like you have like DC doesn't seem to be that way as much as Marvel, but Marvel is just like it's Spider-Man, it's the Avengers, it's X-Men, and then it's the street stuff, and then it's the space opera stuff. That's it. You don't have any interplay hardly ever.
The only interplay that I would ever see would be within Deadpool, and that's the only time that you'll see hit like any character interaction with not only just like Spider-Man, like X-Men, the Avengers, anywhere in between, really. Like that's the only character that I've ever seen any type of like interplay there.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, I could maybe acquiesce to using Deadpool because he's just one of those guys that he pisses everybody off.
He literally is the fourth wall breaker, and
Yeah,
like I can see by using this character just like as something like this, he's the only character that I've ever seen come into play that has met everyone, or almost everyone.
yeah, and that in Marvel, yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually in small events too. So
yeah, okay, or storyline, or weird, quirky storylines, like how he ran out of money and he pimped himself out to Galactus.
Wait. I must have missed this one. Actually, wait, what? He pimped
So,
himself out.
yes, no.
That's
I mean,
great.
I'm sorry about to use the wording. There was a storyline. I don't know if it was a miniseries or whatever, but so Deadpool ran out of money, and in doing so, he went to everybody to try to find work to get money. And like one of the first people that he went to was like Galactus or something like that.
What?
Phil, do you remember this?
No, this is
Yes.
crazy.
So somebody's gotta look this up. But yeah, he went to everybody in the Marvel universe trying to get work.
Oh no.
Yep.
I mean, I can see it. Yeah.
So
Even though
okay, go ahead.
I guess that part escaped my mind completely on that one.
Yeah. So who would we want to see draw and write that? Hey, let's go both sides of the fence. What DC guys and what Marvel guys would we like to see write this? Write and draw.
I would think it'd be a multi-book type event, but if it had to be,
okay, Phil, go.
Okay, if it had to be like one certain type of book, you got to go with the big guys, the people in charge, like Joe Quesada, Jim Lee. I'm not sure who would be the top writers. Bendis, maybe.
No. Hey, Snyder. I was going to throw that out there because him and Capullo are red hot right now, or they were red hot.
I don't know if I could see him doing that, because I think you have to be actually somewhat comical and just not really take it too serious.
Okay.
I see Scott as more of a serious professional.
Okay.
But
so he wouldn't. So he doesn't have the humor in it.
Not really. I'm not seeing that.
Okay, so you would do Bendis? You don't think Bendis is a serious guy? Look at what he did to Daredevil.
He can be very serious, but I don't know. Something about like when he started the Ultimate Universe, Like it was really. It wasn't like deep. It seemed like when it started, it was somewhat shallow. So I don't know. That's an opinion.
Thomas?
I mean, for writer, honestly, overall, I really liked Garth Ennis.
Yeah,
like,
he writes some really
with
messed up stuff. Yeah, yeah, Preacher.
Hellblazer.
Yeah,
by all means.
yeah.
That was not only like you'll have some like moments of like comedy in there, but it's just really good overall writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see Ennis, yeah. Who would we want to draw? Do we want to do Jim Lee and Joe Quesada?
That's just my dream picks right there. You know,
I mean, I know Jim Lee still draws, but does Quesada professionally?
Gosh, I don't know.
Is he making that kind of money where he doesn't have to? Do you have to do that, and he can eat Cuban sandwiches all day long?
I mean, Jim.
I kind of like. I think it's funny that Thomas got quiet, but Phil Gilligold.
I mean, I kind of like Jim Lee as a comic book. What is it?
Oh no, we all know it could be mutually said. Like all three of us love Jim Lee.
His artwork is just
Look, Quesada,
right
you can't slam that boy. His Daredevil, what do they call that? Phil, when Quesada and Palmiotti did the
Italian comic.
Yeah, when they were in Marvel, when they relaunched Marvel, the Dark Knights line.
Oh, Marvel Knights.
Marvel Knights, dude. Quesada's artwork was on fire for Daredevil.
Yeah.
When Kevin Smith wrote it, it was on fire.
Man.
Ash, his artwork on Ash was really good too.
I mean, Peter David.
Ooh.
Yeah, Peter David.
Yeah. Writer, yeah.
He'll do anything.
I'm sure he would do anything. We won't go there though, because we are trying to keep this somewhat PG. But I mean, he did write the Hulk for a lot of years and a lot of other stuff.
What about
X-Factor?
What about
X-Men?
Whoever? Yeah. What about Keith Giffen? He'll do almost anything too.
Man,
He's funny. He's funny.
Let me see. The only thing I remember that he did was he did Justice League, and he did that really messed up Image book that I hate. I didn't like it when I saw the artwork. Huh?
Oh my God.
Trencher.
I just had the best idea. If we could have Garth Ennis's writing, but McFarlane's artist like illustration, that would be amazing.
If that's it, then I want Capullo to draw it, not McFarlane.
Wait.
Yeah, I did. I just crapped all over it, didn't I?
Yeah, kind of. So,
that dude's too busy making toys. The last comic book that I know that he worked on, he didn't draw.
He's doing a lot of inks just to kind of keep it his style. But yeah, he doesn't do storylines anymore.
No, he'll co-plot and maybe write, but he won't draw.
He does a lot of drawing in his Facebook videos, though.
Oh, I'm sure he does, but I mean, he's not going to do that professionally. No. That's why I said Capullo, because Capullo, for a lot of years, in a way, kind of aped McFarlane, but his style now is just his own.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, this is a fun little, dream matchups here.
Yeah. But Phil's right with Peter David.
Yeah.
He's written everything.
That was Tom's. That's Tom's credit right there.
Oh, Peter David was Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter David was that was a good one. I don't know I don't know about Geffen, but Peter David for sure.
Pretty good writer. But I'd actually have to I'd like to see maybe more of a collaboration with Capullo and McFarlane, especially if they were to like do a collaboration on like making like Spawn, because both their styles
Oh,
complement
okay.
each other,
Wait a
and
minute.
that
Wait.
they've both
Listen.
worked on it.
Listen. Thomas. Listen. Todd McFarlane barely could do 10 issues of Spawn. When they originally launched, he could barely do 10 issues. Guess who he brought in?
Who?
Capullo.
Did he seriously bring in Capullo during that time?
Fella, back me up.
It is true.
So,
he got burned out after doing
not
Spawn
only did he
and
get burned
Batman
out,
crossover.
and here, let me lay some more stuff on you. In an interview with Kevin Smith, Capullo, while he was working on Spawn, was like a real bit like he got it really bad into like the bottle.
Oh.
And McFarlane, like if it wasn't for McFarlane like helping that guy out, like he would be bad. He would have been really bad off. That to me is how much McFarlane thinks of Capullo. I mean, you would not do that for just anybody.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, McFarlane barely got 10 issues of his own series off the ground and didn't even write it. Because the last, like, what was it from issues like 9 through 12 were guest written.
Yeah. Or I think it was like 8 through 10.
Yes.
And then right after that,
Capullo was brought in. Yeah.
Todd did the crossover Spawn Batman with Frank Miller.
That was a good one.
And Todd got really burned out doing that, and that's when he brought in Capullo for a couple fill-ins, and then Todd did a couple more, and then brought Capullo in to do some more, and just left him there.
Yeah.
And Capullo really took it up, brought it even up higher.
He was really good. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, listen. I like a lot of different artists, and I'm sorry to be like on Capullo's bandwagon right now, but like you can't go wrong with that guy.
I literally just brought something up, even though this may be DC. Francesco Mattina, the one who did the cover art for issue 1 of The Batman Who Laughs.
Oh.
Now that one. Now that'd be a good artist.
Wait a minute. Let me pull it up.
Francisco or Francesco?
Francesco Mattina.
Okay. Mattina.
Ttina, yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
I didn't see that cover yet, but oh, Jesus.
That's pretty good.
Man, that's really good. I mean, just the paint. I mean, just the covers. Yeah.
He did some illustrations for Spawn too, which were brilliant.
See that? He's almost like a next.
Oh, he'd be a good one. Yeah. Did Deadpool too.
I would just like to see, like, okay, so we would have like some really nice top writers, and have some like all-time favorite illustrators come in and we just need new ideas. We need something fresh that actually like goes back to like some of these amazing characters that we've all grown up with. I feel like, especially now today, like some of the characters, I don't feel like they're like anything like the characters that we got.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some of them I feel like are kind of like pansied. Like they're not good. Their writing's bad. And especially with the New Warriors, the writing on the characters are
Wait, before we go any further with this. Phil.
Yeah.
If you're willing to throw out Frank Giffen's freaking name in there, then you might as well throw out Simon Bisley too. Beasley?
Right.
Because he does some really ridiculous shit too.
Like
yeah.
that, yeah.
Lobo is what his big book. I'm sorry. Grant Morrison. I won. We're going to get Grant Morrison to write this.
Good luck. He'd be good, but I don't know.
Listen, do you see what he did with Batman? Like, that was severely messed up stuff.
What did he do with Batman?
He, I never really outright read it, but I know the final end to his run, like, had a lot of people upset. He had, like, different iterations of Batman in, like, one book. Like, one time I read it, it was really hard to, like, it was hard for me to keep up with. And he brought back, like, Batmite.
Batmite.
Like some obscure, like 50s, obscure.
Created
Damian. No. He was one of the guys who created Damian.
Yeah. Batmite. I mean, I remember this one in the, what is it? Which one was this one in? The Brave and the Bold? Batman the Brave and the Bold?
Yeah.
This was like during a time that I didn't know how to feel about like animated series of certain DC comics.
Right.
But
that's funny. Anyway, what were we talking about? Okay, so we're doing like what, mashups then?
Sort of, yes.
If it's mashups, we can bring in so many other people and get as many stars as you can, because I'm sure everybody would want to put their hand in something if it was a chance to kind of bring back the business and keep it afloat and stuff like that. If you guys are looking at like one book or something, we're kind of like focused on Daredevil, just I'm not sure yet.
Like Daredevil and Robin, or Daredevil and Darkwing?
No, I meant Deadpool. I'm sorry.
Deadpool? Oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. That'd be so too funny. Batman and Deadpool.
Batman and Deadpool.
You'd have to get in Deathstroke in there.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
Deathstroke, yeah.
Deathstroke, aren't they just the same people?
Who? Well, but isn't Cable based on Deathstroke, though?
Well, who came first? That's the thing.
Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Deathstroke, then Deadpool, then Cable. But Cable and Deadpool kind of came out about the same time.
Yeah, Deathstroke and Deadpool are almost essentially the same. Just Deadpool is regenerative skills is like inhuman.
Mm-hmm. Just have to meet one,
Yeah, like you would. So you're just thinking like a one-off, like just kind of like a one-off. Like Deadpool goes broke again and goes to DC.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that happening.
That'd be kind of fun. That would be fun. I would want to see something fun, not serious. If they were to do something like that, like I wouldn't want to see something fun.
I mean, of course, I'd love to see, like, after everything blows over, I would love to see like the comic industry come out with like really fresh ideas and like maybe introduce like a brand new character, other like with amazing background, super good writing, and just has like the whole team on board to just bring back the industry for this reason.
Here's the thing. Look. It's gonna be like we've kind of, all right. I don't know how to word this. It's not gonna be like, look, you can't get any better than Jeff Johns.
That's all I'm saying.
What's that?
You'll make it for Hollywood. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, so just for the comic book geeks, because I don't know how you could get any better than Jeff Johns, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. I don't like. I mean, there have been some like Joe Quesada when he stepped in at Marvel, and did like Civil War and a lot of the storylines since then. Like, I don't know, like, it's going to be a different breed of guys to come in, like maybe Indy, like, oh crap, what was his name? I just read an article about him too. Rick Remender. If anybody knows who that is, I think his name is Rick Remender. He was an indie guy that went. He was an indie guy that went like pro. Like he went like he was indie, and then he got in at Marvel, and did work with X-Men.
Oh yeah.
You can't like I don't know like if you want to go with the people that are still kicking that made it to the big leagues. Are we looking at like independent guys that need a shot that are doing some amazing stuff? Like, I don't know, because from what I'm seeing, like I don't know what else you could do with Batman. I mean, and that's just one guy out of hundreds. I don't know what you would do with Superman. And Superman, to me, maybe we need to have not right now, but like characters that are really hard to write, because to me Superman is really hard to write.
I mean,
and I don't want to get into that right now.
You could say that about like Aquaman as well.
Yeah, Aquaman's really hard to do too. So what are you going to do? Like what would the industry, what should they be looking at? Who should they be looking at that they haven't used yet? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and this is just, this is kind of, I'm just kind of going off the cuff, because you can't Planet Hulk. The New 52 when Batman relaunched.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what else, there's going to be somebody like out there that they don't know yet, but because of how the industry before this, how the comic book industry went from like when Phil and I were collecting during the speculator boom, and then that got shut down. Who would you look at? Like, who would you want? Like, who would you be looking at?
That's a very tough question, actually.
Yeah.
Well, to be really honest, Thomas, you were the one that asked it without thinking about it.
Yeah, that is true.
I don't want to be, and look, and I didn't mean to do this, but I'm just saying, Jeff Johns with his Green Lantern run. That the War of the Rings. It took a guy like him. Grant Morrison, name something. His JLA run is fantastic. His X-Men run is fantastic. Like, you would need guys that are completely outside the box. And I'm not necessarily saying, I agree. I really agree with not writing it for Hollywood.
Well, and
I also would think
a lot of
think
things transitioning over to Hollywood anyways.
But what I'm saying though is let's look at this. Let's do away with these huge events every damn summer.
Like what was supposed to be coming out, like Morbius was supposed to be coming out. I'm
not saying that like that. What I'm saying is these huge events that it's hundreds of titles that become involved with it, and the standard comic book fan today couldn't even afford to buy all of them, and they may have a hard time buying the main storyline, like Civil War. Well, I'll pick on Civil War.
Oh, that is actually a very long storyline, to be honest.
The initial storyline wasn't, the initial books, but the tie-in books are hundreds. I'm just throwing it out there, and I'm probably wrong. That's a lot of money. I don't have that money.
Well, what is it? I'm trying to think of it. Flashpoint Paradox was also one of those things where you had a bunch of, like, hundreds of books where a bunch of characters were affected that like they all had their own spinoff due to that one character, because
Right.
if one character, like, they all live in the same universe, so of course it's going to affect every other character in some different way, so they also have to
Right.
write accordingly.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, let's kind of maybe step back from that. I know it's a money generator, and I get it. Let's just step back from that. How about we do this? How about, like, instead of that, let's say, because I mean, back when we were collecting, like, events would just happen within a single storyline. The KGB storyline in Batman, or either Batman or Detective. It just spanned within a few issues of that. It wasn't go read blah 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 number blah blah blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it like don't let's not do that. If you know right now comic book fans are having a hard time having money to buy comic books, you need to kind of step in and go, hey, look, we need to give them a bang for their buck, and let's kind of maybe backscale a lot of this.
To create a character where everything can happen within the same storyline.
I kind of agree. I agree with artist writer teams. If you don't have good artwork and if you don't have a good writer freaking writing them words, it's going to be really hard to pull off, because you can get by on a lot with great art. Phil and I have seen it. Phil and I have seen it. You can get by on great art, but then when you go to read that issue many moons later, and you go to read it, it's just like, oh, sweet Jesus, this is horrendous writing. Like, I can't read that. Like, this, I don't want to read this. I don't know what that answer is going to be, and I know it's too broad of a subject to tackle right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things,
because you're also and I agree, and yeah, there are a few things. One of them being the cost to put out a comic book now. How is it that you can charge X amount for a physical copy, but then you want to turn around and charge the same X amount for digital release?
Oh yeah.
I disagree with that. I highly disagree with that.
I mean, if you're like, I know a lot of services, especially comic book services, they're all migrating to digital, and everyone's kind of enjoying it. I mean, but some of the cost for the digital, like, is a little, can be even pricier or just as pricey as the normal buying the handheld book.
Right.
And I mean, if we were to just migrate over to digital, I know not everyone is going to would really have this same opinion, but I mean, it would just make a lot more sense to keep being able to keep one copy out there for everyone.
But when and that's like, now I read because it's cheaper to read, digitally. I mean, because I have a subscription to Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah.
I have a subscription to it, but Phil and I have had this discussion. I would much rather have a physical copy in my hands, whether it be at a trade or a graphic novel. I would rather have a physical copy in my hands. It's, to me, reading digital can be easy too, but I would much rather have it and let my eye just wander, even if it's like a double page spread. You know what I'm saying? I just have my eye wander over the whole thing, which is hard to do on a phone, because on a phone they kind of want you to either see the whole page at once, one page, and then or they want you or you can go panel to panel, but they want you to view the panels in a way that they need you to see them, not letting your eye wander over the artwork and how good the artwork is and stuff like that.
I mean, I guess that would be the best way to actually get people interested into the actual storyline.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but like, as a physical copy, like you said, you could let your eyes wander and everything,
right?
But you're just not gonna, like, I mean, yeah.
Like, I'm still kicking around the idea of actually buying a monthly Immortal Hulk comic.
Mm-hmm.
Because that shit is so good. That the Immortal Hulk is, if nobody knows it, shame on you. It is so well written, and it's just it's an enjoyable read. It's fun. It's dark. It's just it's pure enjoyment. And it's the
on
Hulk.
top of that, has some pretty good artwork accompanied with
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah, I mean, I got Phil to buy trade paperbacks of the Immortal Hulk.
I whipped through them like almost in a couple days. It was that good where I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I'm considering that, but just so I can, I mean, not so much as a collector mentality, but just so I can have the physical copy in my hands to be able to read it. Just to be able to read it. I mean, but that would be like one that I could maybe do, that I could maybe do monthly, unless the prices go up anymore, and then I don't want to do it anymore. But that's what I'm looking at. Like, I want to be able to enjoy it, or let the digital be the springboard to buy a physical copy, or a trade, because trades are that's where your money value is going to be at. But anyway, I'm sorry. Thomas, you all right? Thomas?
Oh no.
Did he dip out?
It's possible. Let's see.
I mean, he's still there.
No.
Oh, his power went out.
Oh no.
I'll just have him join us when he can.
Okay.
Yeah, hang on, let me. So yeah, I didn't mean to kind of go in that direction, but I mean, you also got to think about those things too. Like, how, if this lasts, a while, what are you going to do?
What I'm feeling, what may have like possibly hurt the business, but also really helped it, was the relationship with Hollywood.
Yeah.
I love the Hollywood movies.
Right.
There's some bad ones, but there's a lot of good ones.
Right.
But it more and more, it's feeling like the comics are almost catering to hyping the movie.
Yeah.
Or piggybacking on the movie's popularity.
Right.
And focusing more of their books upon that. And it just, that's what's making things feel like somewhat stale or redundant.
Right.
There isn't anything that latches on to a reader. Like with Immortal Hulk right now, there's nothing really Hulk related in any sort of medium.
No, and I think that's actually a benefit. You know what I mean? Like that's where its strength is that it's just its own thing. It's its own little thing, and it's self-contained. It isn't like, okay, well, here's X-Men, but but you have, X amount of titles in the X-Men universe that they all tie in some shape, form, or manner. I would just like to see a good writer, a good artist, and a good storyline.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought I was seeing that, but then when you do these events, and sometimes they're predicated on in a Hollywood reaction, like Batman had a great movie, well, we need to do a great Batman storyline. Or the X-Men just came out with something, we need to do something. It's really tough. I mean, like, we were kind of, I mean, there was things going on, back when we were way back when we were teenagers and collecting, that they were trying to bridge that gap between it being instead of separate, where it's, okay, here are the comic book guys over here, and here's Hollywood. It's not that way anymore.
Right.
Like
It's movie studios owning the comic book
right.
companies. Yeah.
All right, welcome back, Thomas. He had a power issue, or maybe not. All right, well he'll join us when he can. Yeah, and that's just it. And like as I remember, Kevin Smith interview where they came to him. You back?
Yeah, finally.
All right,
back.
welcome back, Thomas.
That was so weird. Holy crap.
Yeah. Anyway, so where Kevin Smith was tasked to write a Superman script, and he goes, "Why don't you grab?" I don't remember who it was. Why don't you grab so and so from DC to write it? And they wouldn't do it. Now they'll grab comic book writers. Joss Whedon, probably Jeff Johns now, and he got his start with the guy who did the Transformer movie, Michael Bay. He interned for him, yeah.
All the explosions.
So I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe that'll have to be a topic for another time, because I know there's a lot of things that we need to kind of get to, and this was a weird little tangent that I started, and I apologize.
No, you're good.
But okay, so so stuff that's also been affected by COVID-19 is Marvel's Phase 4 release schedule.
Wasn't it pushed back to 2022, right?
Some of them not so long.
Not okay. So some of them should be released, but they're pushing back the date just a little longer until this epidemic.
So this is how this is going to break down. So you have Black Widow is now in November. The Eternals are in February 2021. Shang-Chi is May 7th, 2021. The Doctor Strange movie is November of 2021, and Thor: Love and Thunder is now 2021. So
that didn't really change Thor, but
yeah, that's like another year before we see some of those movies. It's also been rumored that some new movies are going to go direct to release on Disney Plus. I think New Mutants is rumored to do that.
Isn't Loki and
Loki is either been delayed or is going to go to Disney Plus.
I heard that it might go to Disney Plus along with Hawkeye.
Yeah. Well, I know Phil and I, when it was initially announced, I think Phil, you and I had said that it was supposed to go to Disney Plus and it would be animated. That was our theory, right?
The What If series is going to be animated.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't Loki. Loki's live action, correct?
Yeah.
It should be. Yeah.
Okay. So it affected those release dates. I hope nobody gets discouraged when it comes when the theaters are able to get back, if there's a theater to go back to, because I know AMC
is tanking hard.
It's tanking really hard, and it might not be a movie theater that you can go to.
They overextended their hand. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much so. And I don't want to see them go out of business, because I've been going to those theaters since I was a kid. And I have fond memories of going to AMC theaters, and even Carmike as well. But AMC, as a kid going to see E.T. and oh Lord, what was the other movie? Indiana Jones, Star Wars. I don't want to see them go out of business, but it happened. It's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, I think they already. Well, I think somebody read that their public trading on the stock market, like they've already been classified as a business for bankruptcy, but they haven't announced bankruptcy yet. So
like a Chapter 11 reorganization type of thing. Yeah, they may do that. That might be a smart move for them. But I don't want to see them go out of. I don't want to see anybody go out of business. But I think that's going to be a likelihood. Depending on how long this lasts. I don't really know I mean, none of us know what the future is going to hold. I don't want. I mean, but we would. I like to go to a theater every now and then. Not that I can afford it all the time, but I do enjoy going every now and then.
Well, with this pause in filming and
Right? Yeah. Everybody's shut
and
down.
making,
Yeah.
would this possibly even help, like the comic book industry? You know,
It might.
with selling and
Right.
people, kind of hungry for an alternate. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's a
mean,
wait
no,
and
that's
see,
a good
but
point.
it's something to bring up a point about.
Right. That's a good thing. That's a good point. It might point people in that direction, or even video games too.
Yeah.
I mean, because video
Yeah.
games, for like the longest time, was almost thought of to be a jump point to motion picture because they were doing way better with the effects end of it.
I mean, Final Fantasy, for example.
Oh boy,
Oh,
I want to play the remake of 7 so bad.
Actually, 7's out right now,
mm-hmm.
which I forgot about. I've been playing 14 this entire time.
But that's not they're
Finished.
not releasing that to PC right yet, are they?
Oh no, it's already out for PC.
7?
What?
Yeah, it's out for
The
PC
remake?
right now.
Oh,
The
Should be.
remake?
Yeah, I think it's on Square Enix's.
I
site.
think you've been smoking something. Are you?
yeah,
It was
I
supposed
thought
to
it was
come
just
out this year.
for
I thought
PlayStation.
it was gonna be like.
No, it was supposed to be for the computer, like what is it, PC and
So it's got
console.
1 day, 1 hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah,
And
so it's coming
all
out
I'm seeing is
very, very
platform is
soon.
PlayStation 4. No, the only platform that is doing is PlayStation 4.
Are you sure?
I'm looking at it right now, bro. Tech Radar.
Because on Square Enix's site. Oh, for fucking PlayStation 4. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, it was a PlayStation property.
I know, but Square Enix is most like they
I
have
know it's
PC publishing rights and stuff like that. So I mean, it should definitely be cross-platformed. Well, not cross-platform, but like put
yeah.
onto other platforms.
Yeah, I don't know if if it's gonna do it later on. Hang on, let me look into this. Because man, the original one was fun. Yeah, it's still, as of 2 months ago, it was still up in the air. It may come to PC or it might not, but it hasn't been officially announced yet. Because PC would be the perfect platform for it with the graphics cards and stuff.
Oh God, yes. Oh my God.
I mean, that doesn't help Philip at all, but I mean,
None of it helps me. I don't even have a PlayStation 4, so.
do you have a video console at all?
So
No, you don't.
the best I got is a 3 and a Wii U. I'm a little behind.
Yeah, a little.
A
I mean,
little.
I haven't owned. I should be talking smack. I haven't owned a gaming console in well over a decade. Anything I play is on computer now because I can't afford it.
I was about to say you're playing The Witcher 3 right now, currently.
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Philip, you can't play that game because there's going to be there's something that this storyline that I'm playing out right now that I don't think you're gonna it would really upset you.
Is there a guy named Philip that gets his head cut off?
No.
Oh boy.
It involves wait a minute, this is gonna be spoilers too. Thomas, you've played Witcher 3, right?
Yes.
Family Matters.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, you're tasked to go and find out what happened to this Baron's wife and daughter. And in it, you discover that he was smacking her around and caused her to miscarry. and that the that and because of that the wife and the daughter ran off, and he kind of took the miscarried baby and like kind of buried it and didn't name it. And you have to deal with whether because now this dead baby isn't a dead baby, it's a dead baby, but it's like what they call it's some kind of, it's a botchling, and you have to figure out if you're going to turn this thing into like a guardian spirit or you're going to kill this thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude, it was brutal. Like I was almost crying. Like, and then like so then you deal with that. Go ahead.
You're more invested in the storyline and the character, I think. So to have your character go through that, I suppose, would be a little. But I haven't even played, a second of Witcher at all. So
Really?
all I've done is watch the Netflix series.
Yeah, no, and then to me that's not like to me that Witcher Netflix series isn't the game. It's not in the spirit of the game at all.
Right. So
it doesn't touch.
They do that in video games
Right.
now. So.
Right. But yeah, it'll upset you. Like it was pretty brutal. So then you sort that out, and then you have to go find the daughter and the wife that ran off. You find the daughter, and she wants nothing to do with him because of what he did and what he was doing. And then you have to inform him that like his daughter wants nothing to do with him, and that you still don't know where his wife's at. It's nuts. It's the game is really good. I mean, it's really good. But like going through that, it was just like, oh my Jesus! Like it's wild.
I mean, in one of the games that I play, they had a Witcher crossover with Monster Hunter, and you have to kill a lichen.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Oh, you'll encounter it later.
Yeah.
It like lichen or lechin.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Right.
But it's like a protector of the forest in a way. But
right.
they're like
forest guardian.
They're kind of scary, not gonna lie.
Right. Yeah. I tried playing Monster Hunter, but that's not a game that lends itself to like solo play.
And anything like a lichen, like from Underworld?
The werewolf?
Yeah.
No, it's like it's something else, I'm sure.
It's I'll post something.
Yeah, but like I said, it's the game is just really violent, or it's just got some really dark humored stuff in it. Like like he's called the Bloody Baron, and he's a drunkard. Like, but yeah, that's a good game. But yeah, I'd like to see play the Final Fantasy VII on computer. I would love to see it because I that's what I mainly invest all my money in.
Because that's what you're gonna encounter later on in
a lichen.
Yup.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
Yeah.
That's wild. And that's in The Witcher?
Yes.
Well, I won't be seeing it anytime soon because I'm nowhere near. I just hit like level 5. Holy moly.
Trust me, you're going to encounter. I've played The Witcher 3 and like most of its contents. The DLCs by far were one of the best things that ever got added into the game. The DLCs were just absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Really?
Yeah, it adds so much content to the game.
Right.
You feel like you've you know how you like go through a game and you beat the game itself on the main storyline or what you think is the main storyline?
Right.
And then they add a DLC and it's kind of like, oh, you get like maybe 2-3 hours of gameplay. This is more like 40 hours of gameplay, most definitely.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've just got into it. I enjoy playing it. It keeps my attention. You can almost do everything by yourself, so which is what I like. So yeah. So Phil doesn't have a video game system.
That's sad.
It is sad.
Um,
Phil, you there?
Yeah,
I know.
I've been kind of like slowly picking away the ice that's in between me and the wife about getting a new video game system. So
I know. My wife's threatened me with death if I brought in a video game system. I was thinking about maybe getting this the Nintendo Switch.
Ah.
And I kind of got a dirty look on that one. But if I was to do that, I'd play like Nintendo properties like Mario Brothers or Zelda.
Honestly, Zelda was worth getting.
Yeah, it
Breath
looked
of the
really
Wild
good.
series was
Yeah,
worth getting, and the fact that they're about to release part 2,
yeah.
I'm psyched about that.
Yeah.
But for right now, in the meantime, to pass the time, I've been playing Animal Crossing.
I was thinking about that one too, to get it on it. So when we have our granddaughter, I can pull it out and we can play it.
is it really like the virtual outdoors and social interaction that you were supposed to not have in the real world?
I don't know.
Yes,
I've never
in a
played
way.
it, so wow.
Partly.
Wow.
I mean, okay, in the game, okay, you know how some games you follow certain things and you always feel rushed to do something?
Okay.
Yeah.
In Animal Crossing, it's not like that. You do everything at your own pace, but
Oh wow.
it actually takes into account real world time. So whenever you've done pretty much anything and everything, you can still do stuff. It's just a matter of sometimes you have to wait a day for certain things to come in, or like certain
Oh
people
wow.
to on
Yeah.
the island. But I mean,
Wow.
it's kind of a grind. But
Yeah.
then again, it's one of those things that's just kind of fun. You can sit
Right.
back, relax, and just do it at your own pace.
It's a pleasant
Oh,
ambiance.
wow. Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the last thing we need, and we're gonna pick on this before we go to Let's Meet Thomas. So we kind of alluded to this earlier. So the New Warriors, it was going to relaunch, and it's relaunching.
No.
Marvel had managed to piss off the fans with the book. And I'm going to let Thomas talk about this because he's the resident expert on all this. So Thomas, go ahead and break it down for us because it's so bad.
I've seen a lot of the characters, I feel like they're all right, like somewhat to a degree, but I don't feel like their character design and their abilities were really all that. Like, I mean, they're not superheroes as per se. I don't feel that way towards them. They're kind of like very lighthearted characters that you don't really take, serious. They're just there. And I feel like in the way that they wrote these characters were almost offensive. Like Safe Space and Snowflake. Those two characters, in a way, I kind of felt were written almost in a way that just didn't seem in the direction that they meant to go. Instead, it seemed more offensive, if anything. It just kind of like Safe Space. His ability is it can only activate whenever he's protecting someone, and he can go in and out of them, so on and so forth. But that just
it doesn't protect him.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
And they're twins, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, they're twins. And then Snowflake, their ability is to crystallize and make ice out of thin air that are in the form of a shuriken, a snowflake shuriken,
What
which
is an
just
ice shuriken gonna do to anybody?
look, I don't know. I mean, the abilities themselves seem very useless.
Right. They're more
I
symbols than anything. Yeah.
Right.
but I mean, okay, so like in the writing, they say that Snowflake and Safe Space are basically, even though they're names that are being thrown around, or people would call them slurs in a way, it would just be one of those things that, oh, we wear them as a badge of honor instead of like taking them in a derogatory way. See, now, it just, why would you call yourself that?
Okay, well,
Like,
so to be fair, wait a minute. Wait. To be fair, you need to go through the list. Because that's
alright.
not, though that isn't the most, like, that might be the worst, but that's not, like, the most offensive.
Don't get me wrong. I like the twins idea, and
I don't,
but
well, okay.
some twins are psychic, but we're psychicers. Just bad writing right there, automatically right off the bat.
Right.
Let me see. List of. Let me grab the list.
Yeah, you need to grab the list. Because I don't think that, because I think the one that looks like Jabba the Hutt's the worst.
Oh my
They're
God.
not doing anybody any favors with that. I'm sorry. Look, okay, look, I understand. Like I have my sisters. My sisters are rather large. Not, I mean, my wife has some curves. That's great. But this thing, like that one, like I'm gonna get hate mail over it, and everybody, I love everybody, but in this design and what they have that one doing, I don't get it.
Trailblazer.
Is that
That's the name.
Trailblazer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trailblazer, a regular kid scooped up into the world of teenage superheroing. Her magic backpack is actually a pocket dimension with seemingly infinite space from which she can pull out useful or random objects. It's not always under her control. She claims to get her powers from God, but not the God you're thinking of. Okay, so her ability is to pull things from a pocket dimension from her backpack. I wouldn't consider that an ability other than you lose your backpack, oh fucking well.
I see, and
Like
that
you're
would be
not that
something that would be
special.
easily defeatable. Like, yeah, like I mean, that would be something that if that was the sole thing for Trailblazer, you're not doing anybody any favors, because if that's the only thing that she can
And
do.
then it's actually literally the only thing she can do. It's just like she
So
said,
she
it's
doesn't
not
have any
always
kind
under
of.
her control.
So then she doesn't have any kind of, like, that's it. Like,
I
you know
mean,
what? That's almost worse than Legion. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go there. That's almost worse than Legion, or the guy who became Legion. Phil?
yeah.
Yeah. I can't help but think like this is like a out of like a cartoon character. Like he's supposed to be an all powerful magician, but all his tricks are bad stuff, and he always has the wrong thing come out of his hat. Like he wanted like this big giant sword, but out comes a bunny rabbit. But then the
You know
bunny
what? That
rabbit,
would be funny
cracks
if it was
something.
like if it was an indie book. That would be fun to watch. That would be fun to read. But
Now
not in a book like this.
I can see this character as being more of a support role character more than anything. Not a superhero by any means. A support role character, a sidekick. And just like her power is not going to always be useful, it's really not. I mean, is it useful to have a pocket dimension? Absolutely. That's a really cool idea for an item. But does it sound like an ability that, like, if it's just completely migrated onto the backpack, that like you lose the backpack, you don't have that ability anymore. It's not
Right.
That's nothing. And then like come to look at B negative. B negative is literally just an emo vampire boy. He's literally, I'm going to say this out loud right here. He's just Marshall Lee from Adventure Time. And it's like, that's bad. He's a teen living vampire exposed to Michael Morbius's blood as a child and a rogue. But life-saving medical procedure, he still ages like a regular kid, but has all the abilities of Morbius. He also obsesses with all the music and attitude of a classic, long past decades like the 90s and the long past decades like the 90s and I am not that old. The world is a vampire and
he either looks like a cyberpunk kid, an emo kid, or like a goth guy. Like, I'm sorry, but he doesn't look like a goth guy.
My problem is that they said long past decades, like the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah.
Well,
I am not that old. I feel bad. But like, they're making it seem like these kids, I mean, of course you have to have new heroes to replace the old heroes, and that's always understandable. But if you're going to replace the old heroes, make it like, make the characters well written and very well like displayed in a way that people can more relate to. It's like, I mean, you can have an emo kid, but like,
so hang on. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought.
You can have an emo kid, and you can have a transgender person, and you can have someone who is like twins, gay, LGBTQ. It doesn't matter. It's like one of those things is, if you're gonna write them well and have your knowledge like on these topics and subjects versus like writing some character that's really not that great or feels like they're rushed and not put together well at all.
Yeah. So I think, okay, so while to me, like, the character designs aren't they suck. They suck. Even that one thing that I think it was that you sent me, or I may have read, where they tried to they somebody as a fan or something like that did like a redesign of their costumes to more like a 90s kind of a feel. I mean, it kind of helped a little bit. The thing is that my guess is whoever had created this and made the pitch wanted to address the issues of transgen and people who could be bullied, and
I mean,
but these characters are those representations. And then we add like the medical accident gone wrong to be, to throw something a little bit unusual in there that's different, and then to do this in a book where they're kind of being mentored by, what was it, Firestar, Night Thrasher, whoever else, to mentor these kids as they are with dealing with these kind of issues, and those characters are the representations of those issues. They are the be all end all. That's not a part of their background. This is what they are. I don't think that was the right idea.
It really wasn't, because the way that it's just, it comes off more, the way that they've written them, it comes off more, like offensive versus helpful in situations. I know that people are enjoying some of the design for them, and I mean, I've seen people on Twitter redesign the characters completely, and the redesigns are like absolutely amazing, and it goes with their abilities. I mean, someone redesigned Trailblazer without a backpack. It's because the original writing for it is it's just a magical bag.
So, and I think when, I don't, so, I mean, you can always redesign something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what it is in this case, though, is the character design by, I would assume, the writer. And it's bad character design. The only one that's almost halfway decent is B negative. And I know, I'm sure there's going to be people out there that are going to disagree with me. I kind of like that concept a little better than the other ones. And it's not because of the other ones are representations of a social, as a social metaphor. That backstory intrigues me a little better than, these two twins. One or both of them is transgender, and they have these powers that they can protect everybody else but themselves. Or you have the girl who's too tall and looks like she gets bullied, and then she stumbles upon this thing that she doesn't have to put up with that anymore. I don't think that's the right idea. That if they were to, that would be something along the lines, if you pull that off, like, as, Gen 13-esque.
Oh.
To deal with those issues, not the characters being representation of the sheer representation of those issues, but those issues being a part of that character. Look, not all superheroes have to be, gorgeous.
Exactly.
Or sexy or good looking. I don't. That's not what I'm saying. And I know we're poking fun at this. I just the concept is poorly concepted.
It's, here's a comment from one of the things introducing the new warriors. Someone made a comment, was like, why can't anyone just make LGBT plus characters normal superheroes? Obviously, It'll be a part of who they are, but there's more to people than that. Calling a binary character snowflake sounds like an insult more than anything.
It is. I know, and it is.
And that makes perfect sense, because I would rather have a character who has, like, great design, great character, like, concept, everything, but later on find out these things about them. And like, because every character needs a moment to, like, say more about themselves, and
this is their background.
Like, give their background, give their social issues that they face and stuff like that, instead of making this entire thing all into their character. Like, it's just bad.
Phil, you have anything?
Well, I have a lot, actually. It's just I don't know what to focus on right now. I'm gonna say, like, I think I'm gonna say that Marvel, in a way, is not really wanting to listen to fans, and they're wanting to kind of do what they feel like doing. And they're kind of like pushing, these issues more than the enjoyment of reading books and enjoying what new characters would be, to enjoy your escapism for a little bit. There's so many other things, that's I don't really enjoy. There are some things I do like, okay, since they're new warriors, and the old new warriors were a bunch of, misfits in a way, sidekicks, maybe, but all of them were, like, so different, in their own characters. They weren't like a cohesive unit, I would guess. Because you got a vigilante, you have, an underwater girl, a heat person, and all sorts of weird things.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Phil. Wasn't Nova a part of that at one point?
Yeah, an intergalactic Space
Yeah.
Police. Like, none of these guys fit together as a team.
No.
And looking at these new Warriors, they're kind of like that. None of them really fit. And I get it that they're kind of like almost misfit type thing, like the New Warriors.
Right.
But what they're based on seems just not enjoyable at all.
Right.
Maybe it could be to a younger generation, but you can't actually enjoy putting yourself into that.
Yeah.
I don't know. The designs seem very anime and like Cartoon Network type design to them.
Right.
The colors just seem too bright and neon and just weird.
It's kind of like Neo Tokyo in a way.
It's hard to relate to them. It really is.
Right.
That's up. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, but then again, so Phil and I are in our 40s. Thomas, you're in your...
I'm 20s, 23.
23?
Yeah.
So there is that kind of generation gap right now. And if you have somebody like, Phil and I, being the older guys, that's not going to be a book that we're going to want to go read. Just because that's something that those are issues that I'm not saying we don't know anything about or we don't know people who deal with them, but that's just something that's not going to interest us enough to want to go search that out. That's not something that we want to immerse ourselves to see what's going to happen month to month to a character.
They've given us something that we wanted with the Hulk, but
yes,
but yeah,
right.
This is
and then if you're telling us, okay, so you're looking at a 20-year age gap between us and you guys don't like it. The fans that are probably in their 20s are probably, even alongside with us, are allowed us because it just doesn't make any sense. It was half thought out.
Oh, here's a comment that you both will really enjoy. So, I'll read this. There was Iceman in the OG X-Men days, and I'm sure there have been others. Nobody comes to mind immediately, mostly because the sexuality of the superheroes isn't necessarily something at the forefront, short of when it's the foil of a story arc. This, on the other hand, this is just poorly written, tone-deaf drivel. Even if it's an attempt at satire, it sure as hell isn't a good one.
Right.
And then someone put, what is it? Oh, I'm trying to find it right quick. Wow, I'm really interested to I went from interested to disappointed really quick there. With all the cool characters who have been new warriors, it doesn't make much sense to just create a bunch of new ones. Those descriptions are not inspiring. They read like satire snowflake plus safe space. Seriously? Also, I'm extra disappointed because the last New Warrior book had I don't know how to pronounce this one, Kane and Araceli in it, and they were saying that they're two of my favorite lesser used characters. And that's how you write a character. You don't do that to them.
Right.
You basically, this is about comic book heroes saving the day and doing right by humanity. What's a part of them should be a foil to like the forefront of everything. Like it's not meant to be in the forefront. It's meant to be like as a side part of the story. You use that to break up, to give more information about the superhero that you enjoy reading about.
Right. It's like I said, and that's one of those things too, where you're talking about topics that are very, very up front now in society. and it's not necessarily something that you can necessarily like ignore like you used to be able to do. You used to be able to.
Yeah.
But I don't, and I'm not saying, and I don't have any negative feelings at all. But as we've been saying, you can't make that the be all end all of that character, and it's up front. It should be, like you said, in that background to tell kind of like their backstory and maybe a subplot or something that they're dealing with. Not, this is what they are, and we're going to call this, this Momo Snowflake because they generate freaking shurikens out of snowflakes. Or we're going to call this one Trailblazer because this kid has a backpack that she could just reach into and make magic.
No, the
Or
reason why they call them Trailblazer is because that they're supposed to be part Native American.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's terrible. Look, we've seen exploitation before, like Warpath, and that's cool. But like, to be like, like, how are you going to do that in a book where you have, transgender, a freaking vampire? Like, no.
Do it correctly, like they did with Koi Boy from The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Like, he was never mentioned to be trans, except for occasionally in a few cutscenes that you would see him in a binder.
Right.
Because that didn't fully encompass his entirety of his character.
To me, whoever greenlit this thing should be fired.
Really, honestly.
I mean, or looked at and maybe like knocked down. I don't get it. Like, and it's not maybe a book that I'm supposed to be getting, but the initial concepts are garbage. The initial character designs are bad, and there's just going to be if they actually do go to press with this, they're not going to get any sales out of it. And as we've been saying, Marvel, and I think that's been the largest complaint of all, is that Marvel needs to kind of be listening to their fan base. You can't please everybody all the time, but if you could please some of the people some of the time, you're doing really good, right?
Yeah. And there's another comment in this one.
Okay.
They brought up the fact that they have so many characters already that they haven't created new content for, and just kind of let die off, but yet they're making new characters and just kind of shoving those characters in the background to where they become almost non-existent.
You've ruined it.
Yeah.
You ruined it by how you launched this. If that was the case, those should have been and never been mentioned. And then when the book came out, maybe it come out in the press, be real sneaky with the press release. I would understand that more than how they launch them, and these are supposed to be the main focal group of this instead of whatever these other characters are. I don't appreciate that at all.
And the new warriors, they're supposed to be paired up with the previous new warriors and some of their story
mentored, yeah, right.
And I mean, what are they gonna do with the older characters in this writing? Are they gonna like make bad writing for them, or they're gonna still do good by them, but still continue to create bad writing for these newer characters?
I'm not exactly sure, but I think Marvel needs to shut that down. And I don't know if they have. I don't know if they have, given to the events that have taken place with COVID-19. They need to shut that down and not do it, because if you had that kind of reaction, and the book's not even out yet, I don't think.
No, it's not.
Not from my knowledge. Just shut it down. And don't do it. Wait a period of time. If you want to relaunch that book, wait a period of time without this and relaunch the book. But don't do it don't even use these characters.
Is it too late though? Because this cat's out of the bag, it seems. Right. And there's gotten so much backlash. Right. Like, you're actually risking like
profit,
looking bad, by not having the the cojones to kind of try to do it. I say redo it, but and it isn't really even needed. I see. The sidekicks are the
Right.
sidekicks.
Right.
It makes sense to me, but
Right.
um, I don't know.
Just
Gotta
drop these characters, redesign it, and then move on.
yeah,
Okay.
and
I mean, that makes sense.
and sweep it under the rug.
Right.
Oh my god.
Well, see, that's why I said wait. That's why I said wait a period of time, because because I think with this initial launch, even just the mention of, well, there's other characters too. That's one, it's a little too late. And two, even if you were to get rid, I mean, and I'm sure the other characters have much more of a fascinating whatever than these four idiots have. But I think it's too much too late when you have this kind of backlash. You come out, well, we got other characters and they're supposed to be in the background. No. By you doing this press release, you said in a subliminal manner, these are the ones that we want you guys to like. These are the ones that are going to identify with you because they're transgen, they're LGBTQ,
They're non-binary.
Because this is the hip thing now. No, you can't do that. And they go, oh, that's not what we wanted anyway.
They're calling Trailblazer Dora the Explorer with the backpack.
She kind of looked like Dora the Explorer.
And they're calling what is it? What's his name? Streamline or something like that. They're calling him he's literally a walking smartphone.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all too accurate to be true, and I mean, I completely agree with them.
Wow. Yeah, I don't. To me, you're not helping anything with this kind of stuff. You're not.
They're trying to push political matters in a comic book and trying to force it down other people's throats by using these characters as stand-ins for those political representations, and it's not
right.
It's not okay. It's because this is supposed to be a form of escapism where you can you have superheroes that face these troubles but also tackle these social acts in a positive manner and help people versus trying to make this tone deaf satire piece of crap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, true. Philip, anything else you want to say about it?
No, thanks.
Okay. So, all right, we need to move on because I don't want to keep beating up on this. We're gonna kind of do because Thomas is the newest guy, and while I know Thomas and I have interacted, Philip has not, outside of one phone conversation that we had, and this was the one thing that came up in that conversation, which kind of had me think about adding him to this, because he speaks eloquently. He can state, he speaks well. He's very informed. So we're gonna play Let's Meet Thomas.
Oh God.
Yay!
Yay!
Jesus. So now Thomas, Thomas and I both work for Walmart, and we're not going to say that a whole lot. And Thomas works at another store. And we kind of had these interactions when I'd come into the store that he works at. And
nothing but comics and
comics, right? So I told him that that Philip and I, when we were starting the podcast, so we were starting this podcast, and so he's like, "Really? Okay, I'll check it out." And I, sent him the link. And it had been a little time, and I saw him, and then Phil, it was comical.
Situation.
Philip and I had already
covered.
So Phil, you and I had already talked about stuff, and he's asking me those questions that we'd already talked about.
Unfortunately, I mean,
and it was just like, we already discussed this, and Tom was just like, yeah, but it was in the background, and like, so,
I do occasionally have stuff in the background. I tune in occasionally
right,
for certain things whenever I'm listening. Most of the time, my mind is usually set forth on like having to read something for school or doing this for school. So it's kind of like I like the background noise of things. And sometimes whenever I get to tune in, I get informed about things that go on around the world. And, like, especially recent events lately, I have the news in the background.
Right. So I guess we have to start off with, so Thomas, where were you born?
Oh, God. Okay, so you guys are going to laugh at me on this one. So I was born on April 1st, and I was born in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thanks. So let's just say this happened on like my mom's 30th birthday. She my dad and my mom were kind of like, in a way, they had been like trying for a kid during that time, but like they were unsuccessful. But like this happened on one night on my mom's birthday, and I was conceived. So, but like I am gay, as everyone knows. I'm very open about it. I like to like let people know if they don't really know, even though like it's kind of like, oh hey, like certain like informational topics. I'm not soft-skinned whenever it comes down to these topics, or like certain words are said, it just doesn't bother me. But I go to school, 23 years old, almost done with my AA.
So what are you going to school for?
Oh God. What is it? I'm trying to think. Information technology and business management.
So you're IT specialist?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically.
Good.
But I can still run business as like upper management and so on and so forth.
That's cool.
It's kind of like a dual degree.
Right.
But like in most, like I only decided on this because I first wanted to start off being like a psychologist, like I'm good with social skills, like with certain people and talking to people, like I've always been the, how do you call it out of your like group of friends? You always have the mother figure.
Right.
So out of all the boys, here is me, and I was always the one that people would talk to and I would give them advice.
Right.
Easy. But went from psychology to IT because like I liked messing with computers. Computers were always really fun. Writing program for some video games, or like creating mods for silly little things like Doom, and creating mods for Left 4 Dead, where it was like, what is it? People call the character from Left 4 Dead 2 the face humper, and whenever the face humper, like my friend decided that he was gonna I was gonna help him create a mod that every time you would hear him come around the corner or anything like that, he would you would hear, "I'm looking for booty," and like, and it's some you find some really interesting things on the internet, and you find some really interesting things on how to make things and how to do stuff. And I always was interested in like IT, so that became my degree plan.
That spoke to you. Okay. So, what was your first introduction into comic books?
My first introduction to comic books. Oh my God, I remember this way too well. So, at church, whenever I used to go to church, I'm not that religious, but I used to go to church up until the point I was like about 12 years old. But during that time, whenever I hit 10, there was a older kid who was like in his like 17, 18s, you know, that would always go. And so we had a garage sale at the church where anyone can bring their stuff and sell it. What was really cool about this is that I knew this kid and he was selling stuff. So he brought along a bunch of comics. My first introduction to comic books was Morbius.
Ooh.
Whoa.
So
the church-going kid had Morbius.
Yeah.
Had Morbius out of all the things, and I got a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards along the way.
Yeah.
So
wait a minute. He must. So wait a minute. Hang on, Phil. He must have read that run that we were reading then.
Oh,
the one
Suns,
Michael Wagner.
The launch of Morbius.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the Midnight Suns. Yeah. That's wow. Okay.
And the best part about this one is that he had the very first few 10 issues. And he sold them for $5. And that's how I got them.
Wow, that's a good deal.
Snatch them up. Yeah.
That's not even face value. Wow, that's a good job.
And I mean, these were like, they were already handed down, but they were all in good condition. Unfortunately, I don't have the issues anymore. They got lost along the way.
As they do.
It happens.
But that was my very first introduction to the comic book world.
Wow. Morbius?
Wow.
Morbius, and then it went from Morbius to Venom.
Yes.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Up Phillips' alley, too, yeah. Wow.
And then later on, it turned into Aquaman, and then went from Aquaman to Spawn.
Did you? Whoa, on Aquaman, hang on. So you must have read Time and Tide by the Peter David run, right?
I want to say I did, but
because if you mentioned Peter David and Aquaman, like I think that was like one of the like the big storylines out of Peter David's run on Aquaman was Time and Tide.
Aquaman is really.
Yeah, well, his whole run was really good.
I haven't read fully all of Aquaman, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I mean, Death of a Prince was one of the ones that I did read.
Oh, wow.
And like I want to say like I feel like I'm trying to think. I know at some point I did read what is it, Throne of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And a few other ones, but I haven't read completely all of Aquaman. Unfortunately, I want to, but
so then you picked up like trade paperbacks then of storylines.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
And then just kind of went from there, and then it developed even further because by the time I hit around like 16, 17, me and my kid brother, he's not like my brother, but he's like my stepbrother.
Yeah.
Me and him went through this phase where we read all of Deadpool. Yeah. Deadpool was his favorite comic. Not only was Deadpool his favorite comic, he had me reading Wolverine and a few other X-Men series because X-Men was more of his thing, you know, like, and he really enjoyed that. And then eventually it devolved into reading a bunch of other stuff as well and trying to get a hold of certain things that are almost like impossible to get a hold of because I just want to read them. I never got the chance to read these things.
Right.
But other than that, most of my book collection is like Harry Potter, the Spiderwick series, Artemis Fowl, you know, like all the really fun books that you can read, along with, unfortunately, the occasional Twilight. And mind you this, we got an edition of Twilight that was, I think, wasn't released during this time because my sister did a MySpace contest to be cast as Rosalie by the author herself.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
And unfortunately, we didn't have the money because my mom was a single mom who was raising 2 kids. And, you know, my sister kept in contact with the actual writer of the Twilight series. And she gave her a copy, like I think through via email, I'm not sure, of one of her unfinished books that didn't get released until later.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I mean, not that I'm a fan of Twilight at all, but wow.
Yeah, so like I've been around a lot of books, comics, mangas even. I even
Yeah,
was so interested in the Pokemon series, and then later on it devolved into Yu-Gi-Oh, and it just went further from there.
right. Um,
That's pretty cool.
Wow, that is very cool. So you mentioned that you streamed playing video games.
I tried streaming for a while there. Didn't
Was it
really
hard to
have.
get into, or?
It sort of was hard to get into, but the thing is that keeping consistency and time.
Right.
I did try to continue stream at some point. I did have like a decent following, which was like about a few hundred.
Yeah.
But during that time, it was really fun because I was playing different games like League of Legends or
Oh,
like
wow.
Gary's Mod or just doing silly stuff in these mods.
Right.
And just mostly playing around in the game just for like shits and giggles, you know, like anyone else like as a kid during that time.
Right.
But yes, it's kind of hard, but I feel like if you're relatable and you can talk to people and enjoy your crowd that you occasionally get, yeah, it's one of the best things that you can possibly do, and people will start following you after that point.
Yeah. Um. Wow. So, what are you reading now?
I'm not really. Oh, I'm reading the Hellblazer series.
Oh,
John
wow.
Constantine.
Good.
Wow.
And the funny part
Wow.
is even though I started reading it already, it was a requirement for one of my classes.
No shit. Wow.
Yes. Some of my professors that I've had have been fortunate to have. Mr. Runjan himself, Dr. Runjan Chipper, he is a wonderful teacher. He may be a little harsh on a few things,
Right.
but he is a wonderful teacher. He's really cool whenever it comes down to comic books. I even had a teacher who taught English as my one of my professors. I had him for like I think 3 terms, as many
Oh,
times as I
wow.
could possibly take him. And he
Right.
used to own a comic book store in Jacksonville for 11 years.
Really?
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
let's just say he's one of the most like he's really good at creative writing, and he helped a lot whenever it came down to actually writing like like narratives and actual factual uh information like papers and so on and so forth. And I've just been really like that kind of just sparked up reading comics again.
Wow. That's cool. Um. So, um, whenever this COVID 19 thing gets downgraded, we're gonna start doing video. Um, the idea was to have Thomas come over, but since he's in self quarantine for his reasons, we're gonna have to still kind of do audio, and then I have to buy a video editor so I could start adding music like Phil that you had sent me, and um, an intro and stuff like that.
And then
But
at
he's
some
gonna,
point,
yeah, and then so I think we were discussing a site, Thomas.
oh, or no, like maybe for some of our videos and podcasts, we might add like some like recordings of us playing video games.
Yeah.
So
So
we talk and
there's that.
overlay.
Yeah. So and of course, like Philip and I, we have a lot of ideas as well. I guess welcome Philip to the show. He will be hopefully a regular feature as long as he's available and whatnot. So welcome to the show, Thomas.
Thanks. We'll be here.
So yeah. So it's getting late. I have to go to work tomorrow and I got to be up early.
All right.
So we're gonna have to wrap this up. I guess we'll go into recommendations. Thomas, you go ahead and lead off.
Recommendations for
like reading or watching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm currently reading, most definitely give it a look out. This is John Constantine, Hell's Blazers. If you like Garth Ennis and his writing, definitely give it a look. It's a wonderful read. You see a lot of different shades of gray and a lot of things that are explained in the series that you might not see in most other renditions of John Constantine.
Cool. Philip?
Pass. You go. Let me think of something.
You know what? I guess I'm gonna ask. Donate to, if you can, donate some money to relief funds. Like the comic book relief fund or something like that. For people who are affected by this, where a lot of people are going to need a lot of help, and we don't know how long this is going to be. So I would suggest just to donate to some kind of relief fund, if you can, whether it's $1 or $5 or whatever the limit you can do. All right, Phil.
Okay. I'm going to recommend a food.
Okay. Ooh, food.
Unfortunately, you guys are in Florida, so you don't have a Culver's.
Oh, yes, we do.
You have Culver's there. Great.
Yes, we do.
They're chicken tenders. They are the best chicken tenders ever, and they taste great. I can't really explain it, but everything else is mush. Absolute garbage compared to these.
Their burgers are really freaking good, and their shakes, man, are like concrete. Thomas.
What?
So, have you ever heard of Culver's?
No, I actually haven't.
So Culver's is like they sell like hamburgers and stuff like that, or like chicken tenders.
They're an upgraded Dairy Queen.
Yeah, it's really good. There's one like on the far south side of Jacksonville on Blanding, and their burgers are really freaking good.
Dang, I might have to actually like give that a check out, like at some.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, like it's so good. They sell like cheese curds.
Right.
That moment when you're lactose intolerant, but things.
Dude, we'll hook you up with a pill that'll take that away from you, so you don't have that screaming angry, like diarrhea.
Dude, at least go for the chicken tenders. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Go what, Thomas?
I might go for the chicken tenders, but I mean, like, might try a few things. I don't know.
It's milkshakes. Really good milkshakes.
Another place that's actually really nice, but even though they're like fast food, is a Freddy's. Freddy's burgers are wonderful.
Freddy's, where's that at?
It's St. John's Town Center.
Oh yeah, the Shishi Mall.
Yup.
Yeah, where I don't normally go to. I've only been once in my entire time of living in Florida.
Oh God.
Yeah. All right. So like I said, it's getting late. I got to go to work, and we all have either homework or wives to get to. So we're going to try to do this still bi-weekly, hopefully, weekly if it presents itself, but we're looking at a bi-weekly schedule. Go out and enjoy. I know it's a bummer, but try to find some enjoyment in life. And with that being said, thank you for listening to the show. And with that, I'm Jason.
I'm Phil.
I'm Thomas.
You guys have a great week, and we will, and we'll see you on the other side. Y'all have a great evening. Bye.